All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Real Gamer Talk. It's psychoKittyOG or Ryan, as anybody can see above. We're with special guest tonight. DarkCarnage320 is here. He is a Twitch streamer. You can find him at DarkCarnage320 on Twitch. I suggest go give him a follow. And we're going to be talking about streamer mental health. And first, I want to let him introduce himself and kind of give him a little bit of rundown about him as well. Go ahead, Dark Carnage, take the lead.
Yeah, so my name is Dark Carnage. I live in Texas, in the southern region of Texas to be specific. And I kind of just started streaming about, I want to say 6 months ago. And I just really liked the community, and I decided this is something I wanted to do, and I wanted to create a community where people can come and feel comfortable, essentially.
Eh,
Um, my hobbies is to stream, and I play a lot of video games, so then that's kind of how I ended up streaming.
So him and I have something in common, and we've been talking a little bit about this off camera. Obviously, is streamer mental health and how important it is, not only for the gaming community, but as far as each individual person goes. Because streaming is can take a toll on everybody, and it can take a toll on everybody not only mentally and physically as well. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing tonight. Chat, you are feel free to questions, drop some questions in there. We're live on YouTube. We're also live on Twitch as well. And don't forget, you can also listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So if you are listening after stream, I appreciate all the support on those platforms. And don't forget to leave a follow. So we're going to get right into it, Dark Carnage. I know you have a lot of things, a lot of points that you want to talk about. So the number one thing that I want to really mention is about large streamers. We talked about this yesterday, and we talked about how important it is for partnered streamers, especially about streaming mental health and talking about it. So I want to get your input on that and what you feel, how you feel that will be going forward. Is that something that we will see? Kind of just touch base a little bit on that.
Okay. There are a lot of streamers or there are a handful that I've seen. I personally don't watch a lot of bigger streamers solely because I like to that communication and that attention from a smaller streamer person that they can give out. But there are a couple people that I have seen that do talk about mental health, and I do hope to see that it's like something that's widespread because I feel like there's not enough representation in the bigger community and much less the smaller streamer community as well.
And what do you think that is? I mean, as far as like the large streamers, and I know you say you don't watch a lot of them, but and I'm not gonna take any names or put any names out there, but why do you think that it's something that they don't talk about?
A lot of so from what I've seen from like even smaller streamers, a lot of people are just like it's just like where do I stop that line of privacy? Like where do I just stop sharing my personal life between my Twitch life is what I think it comes down to. And then society as a whole is kind of still getting into the mental health, having mental health issues is okay. So I think that also plays a key factor in that role as well as to why we don't see it inside of bigger streamers right now.
Right. I mean, I could just imagine, in the future or hopefully soon, that we see people discussing and talking about the streamer mental health, how important it is, not only where they can go for help. Obviously, we're not trained professionals. I know you are in that field, so you're probably
Yeah,
better
that is the
equipped.
goal to eventually
Um,
become a trained professional.
so and I'm not here to say that I'm trained or anything like that. I am not. But just from experience and personal knowledge that I have, and from being in the streaming community for a few years, I just wish and hope that one day that we can sit here and be like, look, we actually can talk about this openly. It's okay to
Yes,
have
exactly.
problems. It's okay to admit that you have or you need help. I think that's one other thing too, is that people don't want to admit when they need help,
And
because
that's
it's
a
a
tough
sign of
thing.
weakness.
Yeah, and it's tough to like accept the fact that like you can't handle what the stress that's going on in your life at the
Right.
moment. You know, it's like a pride issue, I guess you can say.
And not only, are we streaming, but we also, most of us have full-time jobs too. So that really
Exactly.
adds to that, um the mental health and the toll, again, mentally and physically. So, you as someone who's being learning, and you're actually becoming a trained professional, what do you think that as a streaming community we can do, or what can an individual do if they need help first? What do they need to do?
Definitely. What I found is like if you've acknowledged the fact that you have like some sort of mental issue that you need to deal with. I do know that a lot of people in Twitch. There's a couple of people that I've seen that like have depression but don't really pursue to like seek help. The help is out there, and you just have to go ahead and then attempt to seek it. I know that is tough for some individuals, but there's hotlines that you can reach out to. Another thing is planning. I see a lot of people on Twitch, especially in the smaller streamer community, where you're just grinding, and the grind is so fun, and people like tweets because of that. But like burnout is a real issue that does happen. You can't stream every day and not expect to not feel some sort of burnout, especially as an individual who as a smaller streamer does work or does have to have other things to deal with besides just streaming.
And a lot of people, like, they need to know this too, is that it's okay to take a break. It's okay to take a day off,
Yes, yes.
because not only will that help you, mentally and get in a better place, but physically too, because sitting in front of a computer for long periods of time is not healthy. I mean, we can just admit that it's not the healthiest thing you can do.
Yes.
But again, we talked about this a little last night, is that when you take a break, you feel like you're, not there for your community, or your community is not there for you. How do you overcome
Hmm.
that? What do you do? What do you, as a streamer, prepare for that? Because there is going to be times where you're going to take a break and you come back and your community is gone. That it really adds
Yeah.
to that, the mental health
Hmm.
capacity, right? Because that's really can defeat somebody quickly.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that when you do decide to take a break, like there comes the anxiety of, will my community come back? Other people are currently streaming while I'm out and not streaming. What's keeping them from going over to another streamer? And I think it's really important to remember that your community watches you for a reason. So as long as you give communication, your community will be completely understanding. And it's much better to give out better and consistent content and take a minute to take a step back and plan rather than overhyping and leading to bad quality streams.
That's a very good
Because
point. Very good point,
mhm,
because, not to interrupt you, but you have to be able to put out the good content, because if you are depressed and you get on camera, your entire audience can feel that. They can feel that sense of, well, he's
exactly.
just doing it to do it. What is he accomplishing here? He's just sitting, he's getting frustrated, he's getting mad, and that really can really weigh down the community and your chat. And no one really wants to watch that.
Hmm. And I totally agree with that. You do set the tone for your stream, and I think that's where that pressure of like I have to keep streaming, but it's super hard because being your genuine self takes emotional energy, and that's what attracts people to your streams. So you need to have some sort of energy. So like going to work 5 days out of the week, or however many days you got out of the week, that does take an emotional toll. So planning your rest and planning your work and planning around your work is something like I feel is super important, especially as a streamer, attempting to stay organized so you can provide that quality content and commute to your community like, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is what we're going to be doing, and then consistency builds a community and continues to grow.
Yeah, because the streaming, your mental health is more than just sitting in front of a computer and playing video game and streaming, because
Exactly. It's
you're
about promoting and other things as well.
right, exactly, because and we hear this all the time as a streamer, is you have to get your content out onto other platforms, right? You have to, get
Hmm.
out there and post on TikTok, post on Instagram, post on YouTube, YouTube Shorts. Those are the things that you have to do, and that helps you as a streamer, because it doesn't feel like when you go live, you're not trying as hard. Does that make sense? Like, if you have your other
Yes.
content out there, then you don't have to try as hard when you're actually live, because for those few hours you're live, your community can see you, but they also can find you on other platforms 24/7. So taking those days off and taking those breaks comes into play when you have content on other platforms because your community can find you other than just on Twitch every single day of the week. Um
Exactly, and I
so
think that's really important.
oh yeah, for sure. Um so, with the community, with that being said though too, is that you have to really, again, there's a fine line between overdoing it and not doing enough. As a
Hmm.
streamer and your mental health, how do you determine that? Because you are your own person, right? Only you can figure out if you've done too much or you've tried hard enough or haven't tried it hard enough. But again, I always say this to myself is that your mind is your own worst enemy. Because
Exactly.
for me personally, I overthink a lot. Like I overthink and
Hmm.
I think too much, more than I probably should. But as a streamer and you're streaming mental health, you really again have to weigh those. You have to make sure that you are consistent, like you said. But you also have to make sure that you are doing enough, but again, not doing too much. I know that sounds weird.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's why it's important. Something that I've kind of learned is like streamers who plan grow. So like by planning those rest days, by planning those working around. So generally, what I do, since I'm planning on getting a job, or I just received a job, so starting Monday, I'm going to start working at another place for like a majority of the day. So what I've planned is to have like at least 3 hours set aside to like work on my Twitch stuff and how can I improve, kind of just reevaluating everything I do and like creating events. And I think that's something that really helps me not only as a, like mindset. I'm someone who overthinks things a lot, so then that kind of just soothes me and kind of calms me down just in general. But I feel like it also plays a key factor into my mental health and being able to be like, I planned this out beforehand. I am not stressing as much.
Right, exactly. And
Hmm.
I think a lot of us can relate to overthinking. I think a lot of us tend to overthink too much too. Um, but again, you have to really take a step back sometimes too, because again, as a streamer, you have to try different things. Again, getting your content on different platforms, but also realize when it's not working either. Because not everything works for everybody. And again, we can relate everything to streaming mental health because what you do may not work for me. What I do may not work for you.
And I think
Um, Go
and I
ahead.
think that's really important is kind of like something to say is like smaller streamers, especially those even in affiliate, like you are not making a huge profit off of those. I feel like a lot of people try to emulate what partners are doing, which are people who I think there's it's like less than 1% of streamers are even partner, and there are these people who are trying to emulate them, and these people make a full-time like amount, they make a salary off of Twitch, and then you're not thinking of, they don't have to think about the work balance and like I'm working here but I'm also working on Twitch because a lot of people, this is their goal, dream job is to kind of make their Twitch successful. But I feel like trying to do that in affiliate is very hard because they partners don't have certain things to be as stressed out about as compared to someone who's working full time and trying to stream.
Right, and you said less than 1%, earn a living from Twitch. So out of the
Hmm.
1%, there's 9 million people streaming on Twitch. So less than 1%. You
Yes.
just think about that. Less than 1% actually earn a living from streaming. When you hear that as a new streamer, you almost just doesn't, you don't want to do it. But you
Hmm.
can't think like that because not yeah, less than 1% earn a living. 9 million streamers, but then you have to realize is what I can do differently than someone else, because that will really set you apart from the rest of the streaming community. And I think being open and being candid and talking about things like we're talking about really sets us apart and sets us different than everybody else on Twitch who do not talk about it at all.
And I think that's important. It's like Twitch is all about finding your niche and bringing people. Why should people come to you rather than other streamers? So it's all about like finding what works for you the most and how that can help
Right, exactly. And having a good community behind you, because we talked about this off camera too, is that your community that you build, obviously there's people who are watching you and you're building that community, but there's people amongst those that community that can either make it or break it for you as a streamer. Because yes, you are
Yeah.
the streamer, you are the eyeballs that people watch every single day when you go live, but there's people amongst your community that can really help you grow or keep you from being successful, if that makes sense.
And I have to agree with that. Like as a streamer, that's something you always have to be aware of. I have a hard time letting. So I used to stream with almost everybody in my audience. But I noticed I attracted like a bit of a younger audience, like people within high school who weren't as matured. And I had a bad experience one time when I had somebody come on. So I had to like create a boundary and say like, hey, if you're not over the age of 18, sorry, sadly, you won't be able to be on my stream because just for reasons of that had happened in that event on that general stream.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of us, because I play a lot of Fortnite, so that
Hmm.
again brings in a lot of the younger community, which is fine, which is okay. But like you said, you really have to, you're in charge. You are the streamer. You're in charge of your stream, and you have the final say so of who you play with, because again, you don't want to get someone on your stream that's going to be toxic and give you a bad reputation as well, because again, that is very negative, and I'm not about
Hmm.
negativity at all. I'm always about
Yeah, and I
positive,
feel the same way.
being positive and thinking the best, and again, we have to think about it too, is that out of the streaming community there's a lot of people that are toxic. There's a lot of more people that are not toxic, obviously, but you have those people that purposely play with these gamers and streamers just to ruin either their reputation or ruin the game or the vibe for them. And that can just
Hmm.
not only ruin the entire stream, but that can really have a negative impact on that individual person, especially when, again, we're talking about streamer mental health and how
Hmm.
important it is. And just imagine if someone is already kind of on the edge, I guess you want to call it, and they have a bad experience on that stream, what that can do for their mental health, and if they have nowhere to turn to, what that will become and how that person will react the next time they go live.
Yeah, and I've seen it time and time again where there's just some people who had like one or not one, but like it was just one bad experience that kind of just set them off and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna have to like stop taking or just going live. And it's just sad to see like how some people there's such a great community within Twitch, but there are also some who are like very toxic and go out of their way to go and try to ruin other people's days. Which
Right.
I think you just get that with general like anonymous the ability to be anonymous online. Like any game, you'll see some sort of form of toxicity as long as there's like a voice chat option.
Right. And that's just something that, as a streamer, you have to kind of work through. You're
Hmm.
always going to have that, no matter what game that you play, and unless, like, I'm trying to think of a game that wouldn't be as toxic, and I really, I can't think of one. Like, I mean, really, is just, unless you're playing like, I don't know, a sports game maybe. Um, but again,
Hmm.
but anyway, I digress. So again, sometimes I get off topic. But, let's circle back into the streamer mental health capacity. Do you think that Twitch is doing enough for streamer mental health and talking about it and being open about streamer mental?
I'm not really sure if Twitch has necessarily a responsibility to, I guess, promote streamer mental health. It is something that we as streamers do have to think about. While getting ready for the podcast, I was kind of looking for stuff on streamer mental health. And I found that a research in 2017 study found that adults who watch TV or use computers for longer than 6 hours a day were most likely to experience either moderate or severe depression. So being a Twitch streamer alone already kind of pushes you towards that um, I guess the chances of getting some sort of depression due to the fact that me as a Twitch streamer, I can spend 6 hours easily on a device just because I'm either like trying to create content or I'm going live or I'm trying to promote myself just in general.
Wow, that's a big percentage. Because not only,
Hmm.
and also we have to factor in social media too, because a lot of us, well, all of us who stream are on some sort of social media. So there is that aspect of social media too being a part in depression. Because I know like the longer sometimes I spend on social media, the more depressed I get of just the things that you see and the things that come up. How do you work
And
through
I
that
have to
as a
agree.
how do you work through that though?
I think in general, what I see a lot of people do is they get into the Twitch life, and that's when they get focused into the grind. A lot of people you'll see, like I've seen people come into chat like who they're talking about how they're going live all the time, but their friends are mad at them because they're flaking, but it's because they're trying to like promote their Twitch stream. And I think it's important to remember that you do have like friends and family that you kind of talk to. Like you can't just like dedicate all your time to your Twitch stream. It's important to take a break, like I previously mentioned before. Like you got to take that step back, even if it's just for your mental health, to go and talk to somebody else. Because although this is your community, you don't know everybody you're meeting. These aren't your like direct friends. There are people that I've met that are like I'm super close to now, but that's because we've talked off of stream, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that is a huge help too. And you talk about family and talking to people off stream. You know what I found personally is that a large part of my family, they don't know what Twitch is. You know,
Yeah, mine, same here.
they have no idea. No, I don't know if, I don't really know if they support it that much either because they really don't
Mhm.
know what it is and what I mean, people in like on my family personally, they will say, "Well, you're just playing video games. You really what are you doing? You're just sitting there playing games, you know." So there's more to that than just playing video games on Twitch. You know, like you said, they're being part of a community. You know, gaining the friendship and people that you know and get to know because you've played games with, and you can end up building lifelong friendships with.
Yeah,
So
exactly, and I think that's the great part about Twitch itself.
Oh, I completely 100% agree. Now, it just really quickly, I just thought of, if you have the community behind you, obviously you can go far. As a streamer, though, with streamer mental health, you're new to streaming, so you're building your community, and where I'm fairly
Mhm.
new too. Is that what do we have to do as far as our mental health goes to stay positive every single day? Because we're not going to stay positive every. We're gonna have
Yeah,
those ups and downs. What can we do as a streamer in a community to help us through that?
and that's a really good question. I think it's important to, like, try so obviously, I try to stay as positive as possible. My entire like, when I go live, I will, like, take an hour out of my day to kinda, like, just ready myself, and out of that hour, there's, like, a 20-minute time telling myself, if there's just one person who can come into chat whose day I can make, because I've had so many people come in and then just tell me, like, how me just talking to them generally and allowing them to like talk into chat and like just tell them about their talk about their day and without any form of like judgment just kind of helped them a lot. And as someone who started off as a viewer rather than a streamer, I think that's really important. Like I went through a lot before I actually decided to come actually stream on. And it was just I saw the community and just seeing how we don't realize how much we affect people who come into our chat and how much of it like we can just bring a smile to a certain individual even if it's just one.
Right.
So that's something I kind of remind myself about is like if you can just bring one person kind of smile, that kind of just brings my day up in general.
Yeah, and I've said this too is if I can, change someone's life, one life from them watching me in the community and just being a part of my community, then I've done my job. That's the way that I see it. I'm here. This is a hobby, but if it helps somebody's day become better, or if they know that they're not alone because I go live and you can come in and chat, then that made my day. That is my purpose, and that's the reason why I'm here as a streamer. So let's talk about lurkers a little bit. There's kind of a fine line with lurkers in the large community and the small community.
Hmm.
Most of us in the smaller side do not care if you lurk or not. Because
Yeah.
you have to factor in the people that lurk. Maybe they're socially awkward. Maybe they have issues where they don't want to talk. Maybe they have mental health issues too that they're working through. They don't want to talk. I see a lot of large
Hmm.
streamers say, if you come into my stream, you better say something. I don't want lurkers in my stream.
Oh
What's your
my god.
response to that?
I think that kind of creates a negative like vibe in your chat, or I don't want to say toxic because like there's so many different words or so many different ways to describe toxic just in general, but it provides like a negative outlook kind of in your channel. Like it gives the idea, and I've said it so many times to my chat, like you don't have to subscribe to be here. You don't have to feel like you have to give a donation. You don't. It's not necessary. Your general presence is appreciated. And I feel like even as a big streamer, that's something that should be pushed. Like, you have so many views. Why are you so concerned that somebody's just lurking? As somebody who started off as a lurker, my first streamer that I watched was Cotton Kitten, and she was just somebody who was playing a game that I played, and I was at work that it was just not a very engaging job. I had just recently broken my foot, so I was like kind of depressed, and that was the first friend I made on Twitch. And I started off as a lurker. You know, it wasn't until like the second day that I was like, "Oh wow, like I like this individual."
And the thing is that just because you lurk doesn't mean that you don't want to have a conversation with that streamer. You may not know who they are, and you may not know their who they are as a person, like their personality. You may not mesh with every single streamer, like we just mentioned. There's 9 million
Hmm.
streamers. Out of those
Exactly.
nine
There's so
million,
many people.
you're not going to mesh with every single person. So there's days where I will lurk as well because
Hmm.
either I'm busy, I'm doing something else. I just pull up a stream real quick just to watch, like TV, or that like you said, you just don't know who they are as a person. And I have to say this real quick. Speaking of Cotton Kitten, they are in chat right now. So
Yes, I
um
did see them in chat, so that's kind of why I like threw that in there. I
yes,
was like, "Hey,
so
Cotton."
that's really really cool that you guys can get together, and sounds like you guys are friends now, so which is awesome. So chat's doing, you guys are, if you have any questions real quick, guys, just comment, leave a comment down there in the chat, and we will get to it as we can. We're discussing streamer mental health currently, and kind of the different aspects of that, and there, like you said, there's different parts of streamer mental health. It's not just being depressed. It's you know
Exactly.
and I think that's, a thing about mental health is that if someone says that you're depressed, then that means you should be in a dark room all the time. And there's just so many different things about mental health that you can be you may not know someone has a mental health issue, just by looking at them and just by seeing them. And
Exactly.
as a streamer
There's
that
smiling depression that which is like literally you're unable to tell because they're just so good at like interacting socially.
right.
Or people who just don't want to show you or be a bother to others and show you like, hey, I have issues.
And as a
You know?
streamer, you have to, what we call is put on a show, right? You have to. A lot of people think you have to be somebody different on camera. So when that camera
Hmm.
is finally off, what are you going through and what are you progressing with, and you're decompressing, because I want to talk about this a little bit, is when you end stream and you decompress at the end, do you think that is a huge thing that we should be doing more? Or if you're not doing it as a streamer and decompressing and unwinding after a stream, does that add or weigh into the mental health aspect of it? Or do you think that really has nothing to do?
I think decompressing is a really important portion of like being or trying to be deal with your mental health issues, especially like trying to deal with the fact like it does take emotional energy. A lot of people I've seen in my chat like, why don't you stream more? Why don't you stream more often? And I'll tell them again and again, like it takes energy out of my day to do this. Like it's not easy to sit in front of a screen, not knowing who's going to come into your chat, and like you having to put your best self. You have 30 seconds to impress somebody that comes into your stream before they leave. Knowing that kind of it's a lot of pressure to put on somebody, especially when there's no one in chat, no one to talk to. So you're constantly thinking like when no one's in chat and I notice, I tend to keep my viewer count off. But when I do have it on and I can see that it's off, I'm constantly like, what can I talk about? What's the next topic to bring up? And it takes a lot of function, like thinking and processing to do in order to do that. And on top of the fact you're streaming and trying to stay positive.
Right. Yeah. You talk about talking and no one in chat. As a streamer who does normally it does not stream to many people. Um, the mental health capacity with when you have no one in chat, how do you stay positive? Because again, we talk about streaming mental health and being positive and being open about it. But again, if there's no one to talk to, how does one person stay positive every single day?
I think trying to remember that just because nobody's there doesn't mean nobody's gonna watch. Sorry. But it's very important to remember that you have VODs, but like your videos are gonna be there after as well, is as long as you have that setting to where it does. So it's important to remember like just because no one's watching right now doesn't mean no one's gonna watch ever. So it's just like it's like a podcast. Like just because people aren't currently watching us right now live, people are gonna come back. I've heard so many people who are like, "I can't make your podcast or I can't make your stream, and I'm super sorry." And I tell them there's no reason to be sorry. Like the fact that you still kind of plan to go check it out. Like I have a lot more views on my VODs as opposed to my views live, and I'm kind of it excites me to see that like people are still going back, people are still clicking on my stuff and seeing like my content, and that's still the potential to share to someone, and trying not to let the fact that nobody's watching, because if you're watching your viewer count, that's why I don't have mine on. It brings down your kind of vibe. You're like, no one's watching me. There's no reason to talk. You kind of get quiet and silent. When just because nobody's watching doesn't mean no one's gonna watch later. And you being quiet kind of just like pushes them away from coming back if they were watching your past videos.
Right, exactly. And then so someone from chat, Cotton Kitten says, especially if you're socially awkward, how do I fill the silence? Or do these lurkers just want the silence just to hear the game? So I think that it again, it's kind of a mix because there's people who will come in to watch a stream solely based on the game only. They don't
Mhm.
they don't care if someone's talking or not. They don't care if a camera is there or not. They're there solely just for the game. But on the flip side, there's people that like the interaction with the streamer. They want to know who the streamer is. They can see that person, so you feel like you have a connection with that streamer. So
Mhm.
for me personally, I think that there's a bunch of people that are just going to have a mix of both. There's going to be there are people that watch are going to be there just for the game, and there's going to be people that are there for you. So you have to kind of you can you have to kind of weigh that because you can either over talk or under talk is what I call it. You can either talk too much and you can't hear the game, or there's dead silence and there's no point for you being there. So it's
Yes.
a hard it's again everything with streaming is that has that fine line, right? It's very fine across the board, but it's how you react to it. Like when no one's watching my stream, and when no one's live and watching me, I will talk what's in my head because we always have thoughts that go in through our mind.
Mhm.
So if I'm doing something in the game, I'm just gonna just say what I'm thinking, and that just helps fill the void. And that kind of again, it's relative to the game that you're playing, so people are going to be interested in what you're saying.
And I can't agree more with that because honestly, when I first started Twitch, I was super nervous about even like starting. I was like, I have a PlayStation, I don't have a PC, I don't even have a face cam. And one of the people I met on stream was Chrissy Love First is her name, and she kind of convinced me like you don't need all of this stuff to just start streaming. And so when I started doing research into it, what I saw is narration is like 70% of what you're going to be doing. So ever since I watched that video, the most of my gameplay is me saying, I'm going to go over here and I'm doing this because of this, this, and this, kind of explaining to not only the people who know what's going on in the game, but to those who have no context to the game.
Right.
And because it's safe to assume some people are like popping into your stream and like, what's this game? I started off playing Dead by Daylight solely because I saw people play and I was like, I want this game.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna get
So I
to
think it's
chat here
important.
real quick. There's a question here that I want. It's very relevant. Do you write down topic ideas to help this stream going? I personally do not. I don't like keep topics. I sometimes in my mind I kind of put in there what I want to accomplish, what I want to talk about. Normally, what for me, I just talk about what what's going on either in chat or in the game. I usually don't have specific topics, but I can see how that could be
Mhm.
beneficial.
Yeah. So when I first started streaming, I obviously started with like nobody really watching me. And when I would go into stream, I wrote down topics like throughout the week since I'm a huge supporter of streaming. Like I would say, general streamer starting off as an affiliate or just a smaller streamer 3 times a week is kind of like where people are generally at, unless you're just grinding and grinding, which we discussed a while ago was not as great for your mental health
Right.
as most people think it could be. Um, so doing that, it just doing the 3 streams, I think it is really important.
And sometimes too, when you're streaming and gaming, for me, sometimes, and somebody in chat said the same thing, is that you get into the game and you forget you're streaming. And that's how I am
Mm,
sometimes in specific games where I'm just gaming. I'm gonna game anyway. So and then there's sometimes I forget I'm streaming until I get like an alert or notification, like, oh wait, I'm live. I forgot I'm live because it scares you. So it's good to have those types of streams because you're not overdoing it. You're not trying too hard and you're being natural. And that's what I think people really want to see is they want someone to be natural and they want to relate to them as a person who's watching.
and I'm glad I'm not the only one who feels that way about streaming. When I first did my face reveal on Twitch, I kind of made it like a big deal. I dyed my hair like red because that was kind of like my ongoing theme. I was super excited, but like on a very deeper level, I was just scared about like having to be aware of the camera and like what I'm gonna look like on camera itself. And as soon as I ended up pressing live on that face reveal, I literally forgot that I even had a camera.
Right.
And it was just like you just get distracted by either chat or the game. You get so immersed into it that you just kind of forget. And that's something that I always have to remind myself, like when I take breaks or like, will people even come back to my stream? Like as soon as I press that live button, a lot of the times my chat's there to just kind of like get rid of the anxiety.
Right. I didn't used to like hearing myself talk. And I
Mhm.
still have a hard time even now watching my videos, like watching my VODs or anything for content or for clips and stuff because I do not like the way I hear myself talk. And I know it sounds weird and it sounds awkward, but it for me I have a hard time with that. So I'm glad that you brought that up because you as a streamer, not only do you have the anxiety of having to put on a show and to be positive, but you have to be on camera. As a newer streamer like you are, you're only a few in, and it seems like you become very comfortable with that. What are some tips that you have for maybe some new streamers that are going to be listening in for someone who doesn't have a camera or may not want to use a camera? What's your tips on that?
I don't think it's necessary to have a camera. Going back to that individual who's, I'm not sure if they're still in chat, but Cotton Kitten. I've seen this individual grow solely without a face cam, and she's just really positive and outlooking. I think it's all about this tone that you set. I've never seen a picture of this individual, and I feel like she is my best friend. Like we've talked off stream before, we've talked like even while in her stream and in my stream, and I just have like a visual picture of what I can imagine she looks like. But this individual will have like 10 to 15 people in her stream at some points, and it's just like because of the positivity. So I don't think it's necessary to have a face cam, or it's necessary. I do think it's harder to be seen because obviously people are more attracted to faces just in general on a psychological level. If you have a face picture, people are more likely to click on your profile. But
True.
that shouldn't stop you or from being comfortable or wanting to do that because there's still I'm not I know there's like a couple of bigger streamers who just don't show face cams or who just don't talk in general.
Corpse is one of them, and we mentioned Corpse
Hmm.
on the last podcast. He's a huge YouTuber who's I don't, as far as I know, have never revealed his face before. So like you said, it kind of adds to that mystery of that person, and you kind of get your own perception of who they are just by their voice, which is amazing how the mind works. So Mama Carnage has a question for us. Do you think people follow you or interact with your stream more because of your personality or the type of game you're playing. Um, what I will say, and I'll let you answer this too, Dark,
Hmm.
is I think more people as far will watch you based on the game you play more first, and then personality second. I think for most people, personality isn't as a big of a thing. It's more about the game that they play because they can
Hmm.
relate to that more.
Yeah, and I can't. I would have to agree with you. I can't tell you how many times I've had people come into my stream, and I'm like, "Oh, how did you get here? Like, was it through Twitter? Did you just find me?" And people are just saying, or they'll just tell me. A lot of the times, I use the tag "playing with viewers," and people will come up to me and to chat and say, like, "That's why I came. I came over here because I want to generally play with somebody else." And that's kind of why I started stream in general, was to like find friends that I can play with online because I liked playing this game, but it's not fun alone.
Right. Yep. I completely agree. And Ghosted had really he and this isn't a question. This is more of a general thing, but I agree with this. Is I personally rather watch a small streamer at times. Reason being, most big content creators have a lot of viewers and only focused on the ones donating or subbing, just their personal preference. And I think a lot of us can relate to that because I've been into a lot of the large streamers. And I'm not going to mention names, obviously, but
Mhm,
they don't talk to chat. They one, they can't because it goes so fast.
mhm.
But I have noticed the ones that they do talk to are either the mods they know as a friend, the people who are donating and subbing a lot of money that are there every single day. So yeah, I agree. I would much rather go and watch a small streamer than a large streamer any single day.
And I think that's important to remember is that smaller streamers have that benefit of having, you can generally take the time to interact with your audience, and which is something a partner doesn't have the privilege to do all the time. Like, at most, you might get a shout out. I know there's some individuals like Ninja who try to remember like one fact about all their everybody in their community. But even at that, that's a very hard thing to do, considering how many viewers you have.
Do you think that larger streamers do you think they can talk to chat, or you think they would talk to chat, or do you think they choose not to? Like, I know we just talked about it, how they
Mhm.
have a hard time doing it because of how fast it goes, and you can slow roll your chat, and you can see people commenting. Do you think they just don't care and they expect people to be there? Because that's how the vibe I get sometimes, that they just expect people to
Yeah.
be there no matter what. They don't care what you're saying.
And I think that that can come off very easily. But there are some people, like as someone who has been rated by, I think I had like 20 viewers at one point blowing up in my chat. And I tried the slower mode in my chat, and it just kind of gave me a lot of anxiety because I was like, people are typing, but I'm not responding enough in time. And then there's already like a delay on Twitch as opposed to like typing and viewing. So I think it's not necessarily that they just don't want to talk to chat. It's just a lot of people just can't really do it because of how quickly the chat is just going. Because there's times when I'm seeing I think I clicked on a 13,000 viewer stream the other day, and I was trying to scroll up just to see this one message, and I couldn't because it was just so far up in chat.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have to agree with that too, a little as well, because the people that are watching these large streamers, not only are they interacting with the streamer, but they're interacting with chat because it's like their own Discord channel, basically.
Yeah.
These people are friends. They know them. They go in their chat every single day. So not only do they are having conversations with the streamer or trying to, they're actually having conversations with each other. So which it's kind of cool having that community based around you. For your streamer mental health, do you think that, we would talk about the large streamers a lot because they're kind of like the role model for us, right? Do you
Hmm.
think behind the scenes, behind closed doors, do you think they have the same issues that we do as a small streamer with streamer mental health, with anxiety, with, what did I do wrong this stream? Why didn't I get as many views this time around? Do you think they have the same issue, or do you think they're not worried about it because they're
Most definitely. Like behind anybody, like even with the celebrity esque like spotlight or the role, there's obviously harder and more pressure to not be or not show that you're sad. So then when even when you're on stream, you don't like really kind of say or talk about it even after because you're just feeling like, no, I'm happy. I have to be happy for stream. You have to be like you have all these people who come to see you all the time, and it's just upsetting to be like, I'm sad on the stream today. I'm sorry, guys.
Right. But don't you, but as a person, not a streamer, but on a personal level, I think for me personally, I would want to see either a celebrity or a large streamer admit on a day that they're not having a good day because that shows them being a person, being a human.
Hmm.
You can relate to that. And I just, again, we talk about it, but we're really not seeing a lot of feedback or talk about it from the big side of the streamers. And we talked about this yesterday off stream or off stream, is that I want in the future, whether it's in a month or two or a couple years from now, I want large streamers to be open about the streamer mental health and being able to talk about it. Like I said, what would we do if Ninja came out and said, I support streamer mental health. These are the resources you can go to. I'm here to help if you need help. I will do what I can. It's okay to feel this way. As a streamer, that would really make you think like, wow, he is a person. He's behind that mask. He is a real human being that cares about other human beings.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because that's something why I really liked the opportunity to come onto your show and for us to even just generally talk about streamer mental health because it's just there's not enough representation in my own opinion. Like I have friends who will take breaks and they're like, well, even though they announce to the communities like I'm going to be gone for like a week or two, which doesn't even seem much of a break compared to some people who just go like missing for gaps at a time. They still have a hard time accepting like I'm not letting my community down, or they feel like they're letting their community down. Which is why I was super excited to come onto the show to just show some sort of representation, even on a smaller scale, that you're not alone. There are other individuals, and you can go back to that quote I said, like you're here for 6 hours on a device, and that it's proven that that can lead to some form of depression if it's continued nonstop.
And you're exactly right. And streamers, also this is like this can be therapy for streamers who battle with mental health. And I say therapy because when you go live and you're able to talk with as many people in the world as there is, you have that opportunity to reach those people when normally you don't have that opportunity to do that. So you could almost use streaming as a therapy and so to speak, just so because you're able to have that conversation with people you normally don't get a chance to talk to.
Hmm.
So, that is huge. And let's see, chat. On a personal level, why do you feel everyone begins to stream? Do you think it could be to help with mental health, break out of the shell society, awkward or shy? That we kind of, or socially awkward or shy, sorry. So we kind of just mentioned this a little bit. Is yeah, I think that you can use it as therapy. You
Hmm.
can use it because you really aren't. I mean, if you're socially awkward, Dark, when you're streaming, you don't necessarily have that anxiety as much if you're in a group of large people. Like if you were in a group of 100 people and you wanted to stream a game like you would on Twitch, there's probably streamers that wouldn't be streaming because they have that anxiety. And I
Hmm.
know, when I used to go live, I would have that anxiety, when I hit that live button because I didn't want to fail. But it's okay to
Yeah.
fail. It's okay to make mistakes because you learn from those.
And I would have to agree. I think people in general, why they stream is kind of just to like join the community. I can go ahead and start talking about how I ended up streaming. Like I said, I had ended up breaking my foot. Um, I had actually it was the first time I was on a skateboard and I fell and landed on my foot incorrectly and tore all three ligaments in my butt. So I was unable to walk. So that was pretty bad and sad. And even in that situation, I was still forced to go to work because I had other responsibilities. And due to the fact that that work wasn't as engaging, that's kind of how I got into the Twitch community. But I really wanted to just start streaming because I wanted friends to play with because I was stuck at home. I had friends during the COVID or like when the pandemic was happening, and we were kind of still hanging out because it wasn't as big and it wasn't as huge a deal as it was when people weren't taking it as seriously at the very beginning. And I was unable to even hang out with my friends then because I when I came, I had like a scooter I had to scoot around, so I came with baggage, so it made a lot of things harder. So then I immersed myself in Twitch and like made this whole community that I got to hang out with because and I had other people come in who were like, "Yo, like I'm having these mental health issues as well. It's nice to hear someone else talk about it just in general." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're not alone." Like, you know. And I think that was something I wanted to. From there on, I was kind of addicted, and I was like, I want to create a place where people can come and have this safe space to just talk about issues or just hang out and tell me about your day. How was it? Was it bad? Was it good? Why was it bad? And let's talk about it.
You know, you're so right on so many levels because again, you have to be seen as relatable. You have to be
Hmm.
relatable to your community and to who's watching you. Um, and that's really a reason why I started these podcasts is because these are the conversations that we would have normally in my chat, and it was hard for me to do this and play games at the same time. So I decided, let's make a dedicated day of the week where this is what we do. We have guests on, we talk about different topics, but it also are able to help people. And you know, like you said, for you, you know, you started streaming because of a leg fracture, and now look at you. You know,
Hmm. I know.
it is really, you know, anyone can do it, and anyone has the ability to do it, and which is amazing. You know, and it's just awesome to think how um whether you're, you know, whether you're like super good at a game, whether you're good at talking, there's just so many different styles of streamers out there. So I want to talk a little bit also about esports, and
Hmm.
streaming mental health, and kind of tie in streaming mental health with the esports community, with stream teams, the good, bad, and the ugly on the stream teams. So I want to give a shout out to chat real quick. I want to thank everyone for the donations, for the subs, for the bits. It's not required, but it's very appreciated. And thank you for the follows. And if you're listening this onto the podcast, don't forget, or later on Spotify, don't forget to hit that follow button. So let's go back into a little bit about with the stream team. So I want to, you know, hear your insight on stream teams. What do you think about them? Your input and kind of what you've experienced so far.
Yeah. So as a streamer on Twitch, obviously it was very quick to me to see like what stream teams were. For those of you who don't know, that they're teams that kind of come together and you kind of grind into the team, and then you're able to get like a content creator position, and they kind of say that they'll go ahead and help promote you. And then a lot of them will promote family, which is like really great and really awesome. But it's just as a streamer growing, it's really important to remember, do you want to continue this brand with a team, or do you want to continue your brand? Because joining a team is a whole different topic. Some may have regulations, some may not. Some won't allow you because you don't have certain content posted, or you can't post certain content specifically because it's against what they go against. So then it can kind of come into like a toxic. A lot of them can be toxic, and a lot of them are really supportive. So it's just like, what do you look out for is kind of what it is. And something that I notice is or not a lot, but some teams will seem as if they're only supporting the owner of the team. Is something important to look out for, because if that's the case, then it kind of seems like they don't have really an intention to go ahead and help you out, because the sole purpose is to support the main streamer, which as a Twitch streamer is very hard because your first job is to stream, not view, if that
Right.
makes sense.
That makes huge sense to me, and that's something that I've always kind of tread lightly on because, you know, I don't want to, you know, ruffle feathers, you know, but I think
Hmm.
it needs to be brought to the attention. It needs to be talked about, not only with the mental health and how difficult that is, obviously, but about these streaming communities where it's almost like a false hope. Where if you know you're given that opportunity to be a part of something, which can be great, but then on the flip side of that, you're only getting the support
Hmm.
at a very small level, and that really doesn't benefit you that much. So as far as your mental health is concerned, that can really have a detrimental effect on somebody, because you can really feel defeated if you've tried and you've tried and you found this streaming community that says, "Hey, we're going to get you on the front page of Twitch every single day. We're going to support you every single day. You're going to get big because of us." But then 2 months in, you're not seeing any benefits from that. So, you really kind of have to watch yourself. And like you said, but there's also good communities too. I don't want to say
Hmm.
that they're all bad, because there's also great communities out there. And I do have to give a shout out real fast to Steam Warriors. They are great. They are a very great community that I've been able to be a part of. And I know there's a few in my chat that is a part of that. They're a great community, and they're all about helping each other and helping one another, which is exactly what we need in this community. And like what you're talking about, Dark, is that there's people out there, and I've seen it, where they're all about the person at the top, and they don't care how
Hmm.
far they get there. They don't care who makes it through, who doesn't make it through. They just want to get to the top, and I think sometimes it's a false hope.
And I think I'm so glad that you said that there are communities out there. And everything I said, I'm not trying to say not to join a team. I myself have, I'm currently trying to join one, or I'm in the process of grinding for a team. So, but it's something that I took a step back and I was like, is this something I want to join? What are their goals? Do they look like they're gonna actually try to help me? Am I gonna benefit? And am I gonna be able to give something to this team as well? Because it's a huge responsibility to join a team just in general. And I know a lot of people will just join and then the team gets mad because you quit like 3 weeks later down the line because you were unable to fulfill the role that you thought you were going to have.
Right. And I think, with the communities and teams and esports, there's should be more of a defined line between them, because they all sound the same, but
Hmm.
they're all sort of different. There's a difference between being a part of a community that supports everyone regardless. There's a stream team, that I have personally been a part of. Those types of teams only support those at the top. And then there
Hmm.
is the esports side of things, where you're grinding to make it on this team so you can compete, whether it's in Warzone, whether it's in Fortnite. You can actually compete on a competitive level in the esports, where you can earn a good living if you're, a great player. So, like you said, there's good, bad, and ugly to everything. But I think personally is that there should be more definedness between these communities, because they all sound the same, but they're all different at the same time.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've like joined a team or not joined a team, but like looked into joining a team and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that this was this. Like, I think I almost joined an esports team and I was like, I'm not great enough to like compete on a competitive level, in my personal opinion. Um, so it was like, oh, this isn't something I wanted. I wanted something more like promotion and let's help each other out, kind of promoting thing. And I think that's more of an organization, but it's hard to tell because, like you said, it's very tough to differentiate the difference between these organizations and esports teams.
Right, exactly. So we're gonna talk about the next, unless someone has questions, is that streamer tips, and I know that's something big for you that you want to discuss
Hmm.
and you wanted to go over, and how that all kind of ties into the streaming mental health aspect of it. Is the tips? So, what are some tips that you have for the audience that you've gained and your knowledge from streaming? And I know you're and new to this, but what are some tips that you have for the audience?
One of them is that your viewers are your main thing. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to chat and like people just don't interact with the people who are talking because they're so focused on the game rather than the fact that their audience is talking to them. You're streaming because you want people to watch you. And those people's only incentive for, especially, we talked about how smaller streamers get a lot more attention from people, or people prefer smaller streamers solely because they can gain that interaction. If you have someone like that coming into your chat, they're not going to stick around because until the end of the game so you can interact with them. You have 30 seconds. So I think knowing that your viewers are the main thing. If you're choosing to stream, you're streaming because you want to stream to viewers, and your viewers are everything at that.
Yeah, that's huge. It's amazing when you brought up about 30 seconds for impression. That's not a lot of time. You think about it. That's just a
Exactly.
few seconds, and you may not realize, you're into the game and you're focused on the gameplay, and you have these people in chat that you may not even know is there. For me, that's happened to me a few times where I
Hmm.
don't know someone's chatting because I'm so focused on the game. Do you think sometimes the people who watch or the viewers don't give enough time to those?
Oh, most definitely. But that goes down to a deeper level of like us as humans. We judge things no matter how hard you try. You're gonna have a biased opinion. You're gonna judge somebody based off of that. And it's pretty easy to just like go into a chat and then just leave because you're like they weren't entertaining or they didn't respond. So that I think it's kind of hard to change that viewer's mindset as opposed to trying to pay more attention to chat. And that's something I'm so excited that I have like my PlayStation for is every time someone comes into chat or someone does type in chat, I'm able to see that notification pop up on my screen. So I'm able to be like, oh, hi, welcome into chat or respond really quickly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's amazing. How quick people enter out of someone's chat, and
Hmm.
it moves very 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 fast, and especially if you're getting a large amount of people in chat, and it can be very difficult. Like we said earlier, you have to be a multitasker. You have to multitask as a streamer. So I want to talk a little bit about burnout. And I know we talked about this in the beginning of the podcast, but I want to circle back and talk about burnout. Aside from taking days off and taking breaks, obviously the normal stuff that we say that you not should do in order to not cause burnout. On a deeper level, though, on a deeper level now, what can we do to help prevent burnout?
So as a streamer, burnout is obviously a really real thing, especially for those who are either affiliate or lower. Because even if you are affiliate, I think I kind of looked it up, and generally, if you're in the higher like 30 to 35 range viewers, you're generally making around maybe $200 to $300 a month at most, which it could be 600, which I isn't obviously enough to live off of. So you have other work things. So whenever I was working, I worked at a communication center when I first started streaming, and I wouldn't get out till 8 o'clock at night. And something I learned is I learned how to automate a lot of my things. So when I go live, it's automatically promoted. I found apps that would promote for me, where you can schedule tweets and stuff. Because as a streamer, social media is like a huge portion of like promoting yourself, and it's so easy to just automate all of that, just to have your tweets go out and to send out at certain times or interact with certain people. And that's
Yes.
something I kind of wanted to
Uh,
start. Yes,
n-
go on.
no, no, no. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that's something that I kind of like me as a person wanted to start as someone with a psychology degree or someone who's going for psychology and started off as a business major in marketing. It's something that comes very naturally to me, but I've noticed like a lot of streamers don't have the capability or just they don't know how to do it. So that's something that I've really kind of pushed towards, and I'm really striving to go ahead and start a business to where I can help people on it, like as a social media marketer, to help people automate that. So we can show you how to automate this, so you can solely focus on your stream and your streaming content.
That is
So that,
huge.
I'm
That is
currently like
huge.
in the process of looking for clients and stuff.
Okay, well, if everybody's listening and you need someone to automate, and I mean, I might have to talk to you after the show here because I that's something that I never have enough time for. I mean, as
Hmm.
a streamer and somebody who's, I mean, we're always busy. We always have things that we have to do. If we can definitely automate that, and I have used programs before. For example, like I've used Hootsuite. I've used them. They're basically what you say. They automatically tweet stuff out for you, but
Hmm.
they don't know me on a personal level. So
Yeah, yeah.
having that personal level is definitely going to be huge, and that's a great program or great option
Yes,
for
and
streamers.
it's super exciting to kind of start to get that off the ground. I'm currently working on building a website, so hopefully I can get that out by the end of the month or within the next coming month.
Oh, that'll be huge. So if you guys are
Hmm.
streamers and definitely need the automation when it comes to social media, Dark Carnage, definitely hit him up. he will definitely help you and be able to, and that will help someone's brand grow. Cause so let's
And
talk
that's
about
something
branding.
and that's something I was just about to bring that up. Your branding is so important, especially like someone with a marketing background. Like everything comes from your branding. And that's something I also want to focus on is not only social media, but helping people brand or like rebrand because as I've come into Twitch, my brand is constantly changing until I am satisfied. I started off with an anime theme, like I liked a certain anime and I kind of just carried that towards it and it's become its own thing at this point, which is something really exciting.
Right. And this is a real quick tip too about branding is that something that's highly recommended, especially for new streamers, is that make sure your name is the same across the board. On your
Very
social
important.
media. That way you are discoverable. You can be discovered very easily on other platforms. So for me, for psychoKittyOG, I that was a name that I have just I one day I had to change my gamer tag and I
Mhm,
changed it to psychoKittyOG because it was a name that I had in my mind. And now it's kind of turned into its own thing. It's something that I can brand and turn it into something down the road. I actually thought about changing it and going into a completely different direction, but the people,
mhm,
my communities basically told me, no, you need to keep it as is. We know you as Psycho Kitty. That's who you are, and that's what you need to stand for. Not, it really doesn't mean anything to me, honestly. But do you think
mhm.
that your name and your brand, do you think that it needs to have a meaning for that streamer, aside from just being a name? Or is it something that you think that will grow with that streamer down the road?
Honestly, so how I picked my name was I literally thought like I think I was watching someone stream and their name was Dark something, and I liked the idea of naming them Dark. So I was like, I like dark. So then I randomly generated a word, and I knew I wanted to do horror and theme, so I kind of did like a horror generator for a name, and Carnage came out, and then 320 is my birthday. So then that's kind of how I came up with the name. And at first, I had so many plans to change it and stuff, but it was just so recognizable. Like people were calling me Dark, or people were calling me Carnage. My community came up with my branding, which was the House of Carnage. So now I say the House of Carnage is now in session. It's kind of like my thing whenever I go live on my notifications, and it's something that I probably won't change solely because my community helped me build it.
Right. I mean, you're slowly growing it into something that is very recognizable, that is unique to you and you only, which is great
Hmm.
for community, and it feels like the community is involved. Like they are
Yes.
getting that input behind it, and they're not only, you're the streamer, and I say this all the time, is that you are the voice, you're the voice and the picture of that stream, but the community is who really makes that brand. Like
Hmm.
Ninja, yeah, we know who Ninja is, but the community behind it makes that. So for you to
Yeah,
have that behind you is great. And Thanos said, never be afraid to rebrand if you want. And I agree with that. If you feel that,
that is very important. If you're not happy with what you're standing with, or if like your picture, you feel like you have a better idea and image. Like currently, right now, I have a picture that was done for me, and this is something I also wanted to talk about. Is I'm obviously a heavier set person, and when I was purchasing art from a graphics designer, they made me skinnier, and that's currently what my little profile picture is at the moment. But I'm working on like I'm obviously really interested in art, as you can see from the paintings in the background.
yep.
So I'm learning how to do my own digital art and learning that it's really important for representation to me. So I'm gonna make my character more heavier set because that's what I look like.
Yeah, and I don't the graphic designers, they have one mindset, I think, and they don't see the total picture. And they don't want
Mhm.
to offend anybody. I get that, but if you want your your icon or your profile picture to look like you, then it should look like you. Whether regardless. I mean, we're all different, we're all unique. So I agree that these people need to be a little bit more open about things like that, and
Mhm.
it's not something that we talk about a lot. Um, but yeah, definitely don't be afraid to rebrand. And I'm glad that I brought up, started the RGT. the real gamer talk. That's just something that I've come up with. But um, I really want to give kudos to you, Dark, for coming on here. I know
Thank
you
you so much. It
you have
was
some other
so
topics
great.
that we wanted to come up with, but um, it's great to have this conversation and being open and being just having a candid, non-scripted conversation. That's what these podcasts are going to be like going forward. Is that I don't want them to be scripted.
Hmm.
Whatever we talk about is what we talk about. I want to be open about anything. So one quick thing that I saw, I was just getting some content and feedback for the content for tonight about streamer mental health. Is you know, people with suicide. That's obviously a huge, with streamers. But there's a quote, and this was from a streamer, and it says, "Every week I would have 1 to 3 people in my DMs telling me that they were going to kill themselves." As a streamer.
Hmm.
So that tells you how much of an issue there is out there, with the streaming community. Mama Carnage says that loves your brand, Dark Carnage. So
Thank you. That's my mother, so
oh,
I'm sure she does.
I'm well. That's great. That's awesome. So I know we have some other topics that you wanted to talk about, and so we're just kind of go roll right into that if you want. Um,
Um, we actually covered all the topics I wanted
okay.
to talk about,
So
so we're good on that part.
wow, we are very thorough then. Joker, how are
Yes.
you? So let's go back to streamer tips a little bit because there's some tips. I have been streaming, like I said, since 2019. I started on Mixer and then I went over to Twitch whenever Mixer died, but I'm not going to get into that. Um, I'm going to ask you a question. I'll put you on the spot a little bit. What
Okay.
is what is something that you wish you were told as a streamer before you started streaming?
Bots.
Bots.
Honestly, I did not know there was so much stress behind like having to when people ask you questions about like what's your gamer tag or where can I find your social media. It was so stressful for me to have to put the game down and just like have to type it into chat really quickly. If I had had bots at the time, it could have like just you could tell chat like, hey, do exclamation point this, or you can check out my commands to see what it is. It as soon as I got a bot, literally a half of my anxiety about streaming went away really quickly. So I think bots is something that is really important. Setting how to set timers as well, to promote yourself as well, or just like random quotes that you can do with the 8 ball.
Yeah, random quotes are very fun. Um, and in chat games as well. Because there's
Hmm.
on the bot side of it, there's so many in game chat or in chat games you can have, and not only can the community stay involved and they can stay active and interactive as well. There's also games on Twitch that you can add as an extension, which I think is kind of
Yeah,
cool. That I didn't
which
know
is a
that.
great.
Really, honestly, I've learned so much from TikTok in the last few months. I think I'm addicted to TikTok, by the way. Um,
Yeah, isn't everybody?
I think we all are, but there's so many good tips on there. And there's things that I never thought that you can do. Like, for example, you can change your camera. You can make it any shape that you want. If you All you have to
Hmm.
do is take a picture and add it into a mask feature or a mask filter in OBS, and it changes the picture of your camera. I didn't know that. That's something
Yeah, I had
small.
no. I did not know that as someone like on PlayStation.
So, there's so many different things that you can do to your Twitch channel, make it unique, and so you can stand out as a streamer because, like we said, there's 9 million people. So you have to be
Hmm.
different, and um, have to stand out. And I think you have to stand for something. What does your
Yeah, it's very
brand
hard.
stand for?
Yeah, it's very hard to go on and promote yourself, and that's something like in the process of gaining clients is something I tell my people or like my clients is why should somebody press that follow button and why should somebody subscribe to you? If you can't answer that question, it's going to be really hard to move on and become successful. You need to have some sort of reason why. And without that resolve, it's really hard to strive towards something or really motivate yourself to keep going because you don't have something on your end pushing you.
Right. So what do you stand for? Carnage?
Right now, my goal, like I had said, I believe I mentioned it previously, is to kind of just create a community where I can help other people. So, like, even before I was considering making my business, I would just meet random streamers. Like, I would purposely go to the lower to higher viewer count and just find people and be like, hey, like, do you know how to do this? Do you need help setting that up? So I guess my goal right now is currently just to bring people into a community where they feel like they're not judged and they can come and ask questions about streaming or just in general.
That is really cool because um, people don't sometimes know where they can turn to, and they don't know that they can ask questions because I've seen this so many times too, where streamers don't want people to go in their chat and ask questions. They don't want
Or people will
them.
do like they'll
They,
do like a FAQ page because they're tired of asking questions on
right.
like on stream.
And they feel as it's a self it's like it's a way of self promoting, and I disagree with that. Just because you're going
Hmm.
into someone's chat or stream and asking them questions about their stream doesn't mean that you're self promoting. It means you're curious. You want to know how to do something. And I seen a TikTok, and I don't know, don't remember who it was, but they said that just because you're a streamer doesn't mean you're their live tech support. And I disagree with that because you can build a community based on just being a tech support person. Now, granted, if you have the time, if you don't have the time, I understand. But you don't want to be bombarded with hundreds and thousands of questions. And I guess that can be frustrating. But you want to build a community and have people that are open and willing to not only ask questions, but know that you're going to answer them. So I think that's huge. And that's something that'd be a good thing that you and Mama
Hmm.
Carnage said mentorship. Yeah, mentorship is
Oh
huge
yeah,
because
that's something that we've been talking about, kind of.
as a young streamer and a new streamer or a brand new streamer, you wanna look up to somebody. You wanna, mentor and be a part of that community, and you wanna learn from them. And you don't wanna like
Hmm.
take everything from that streamer and make it your own. Obviously, you don't want to do that, but you want to take parts of that stream and turn it into something that you can do for yourself. And I think that'll
Yeah,
be huge.
and I think that's something a little bit of what everybody kind of does is like how I said, we all compare ourselves to these partners who. So that's kind of what small streamers do is they'll look at a partner and be like, this is what they're doing, so it's gonna work for me. Which is kind of hard because, like we said, those people are making money. They have less things to worry about, um, as a, like compared to work wise. So I think it's really important to like if to just create an outlet in which people can have some sort of help because right now we currently kind of just watch people other small streamers and we kind of figure out like, oh, I like that, I like that. So that's something I want to do is just kind of create a way for someone to come into a community that is known for helping people is essentially what I'm trying to do.
Right. Yeah, that's huge and that's great and it's
Because
nice
a
to
lot of
have.
people on Twitch are like, no self promotion, no self promotion.
Right. Yeah, and again, back to that. I don't think that it's self-promoting when you're asking questions. You're curious.
Hmm.
You're just curious about how they did something or how they, made this feature, how they made this overlay or how did they make their camera look like this or and I guess, people don't want to stop their streams to ask questions. They feel like they have more important things. They don't
Hmm.
realize that they're growing and developing a future
Yeah,
and
because you're making a bond. You're setting like the tone and kind of helping somebody like grow as a streamer, and that's something like why wouldn't you want that as a streamer? You know how toxic it can get and how bad it can get. Wouldn't you want to help somebody?
well,
That's kind of how I'm seeing it.
I think too is that with streamers, they feel that other streamers are competition
Hmm.
rather than a community
Which,
member.
in a sense, yes, but even like down to the raid function, all functions of Twitch is kind of like we're promoting each other. That's just how the system works is we promote each other. And that's kind of the only way it kind of really works unless you're like really huge and you're able to like there's ways to grow your own community on your own. But a lot of Twitch is just promoting, even down to the raid button. Like a raid is promoting yourself just in somebody else's stream.
Right. And again, people like that. They like the raid. Some don't. Some turn the
Hmm.
raid feature off. I would never not turn away a raid. Like that's really for me that
Yeah.
why wouldn't I if someone wants to come raid my channel, by all means do it. I just don't understand sometimes that the thought process as a streamer that we feel like we're on our own little island, but we're not. We're large.
Hmm.
We're a part of something a lot bigger than us that we even know.
Yeah, we're on a platform that the whole point of the platform is to share and grow as a community because everyone is a community. I think there's only one or less than 10% of people who even have the affiliate status. So that means like just off that fact, small streamers are the drive of Twitch. So like that's like I think 91% or nine no 90% of streamers are small streamers.
Right. That is a huge amount of small streamers that are, just trying to make it and get to where we need to be, and we all get there at a different way and a different
Hmm.
speed as well. So we really have to really think about that and really, like you said, stand for what you stand for. Make sure that it's positive. Make sure that it's something that people can support, and I think that will go huge, and that'll take you very very far in the stream world.
Thank you, thank you. I'm super excited to kind of just promote that in general.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I hope one day that the streaming community will definitely embrace streamer mental health and talk about it more and be more open about it. And I do know that there's like there are certified psychologists that actually do stream on Twitch. I didn't realize that. So I think that we're starting to see that, and we're starting to see it evolve into something that
Hmm.
we
That is exciting.
so that's something that we'll have to kind of come back to and touch base on, later when it becomes more of a norm, I guess. So
Hmm.
that's, really honestly, that's all I have. Unless you had something that you wanted to add, Dark Carnage. Um,
Um, no, if there's anything to take away from this, is that people streamers who plan growth, plan your work, plan your health, plan your resting is kind of and in your content obviously. And I think going based off that, that's a really good way to grow, not only as a streamer but as a person, and to grow your mental health as well.
right. I definitely agree with everything that you just said, Dark Carnage, and add to that is that, don't be afraid to take time off. Take
Hmm.
be a part of your family. If you have kids and things like that, it's okay to take your days off to spend time with them, because they're important and they're part of the community. They're part of your journey, even though they're not in your Twitch every single day, but your family is a part of your journey along your way, because you're bringing them with you. Yeah, they're not streaming they're not streaming for you, but you're bringing them along that journey because you're doing this.
Hmm.
So, well, real quick, Thanos said, "What did I miss about mentorship?" So, what we talked about with mentorship is being allowing your community to asking you questions, mentoring smaller streamers, going into streams that maybe have zero viewers, one or two, and just ask if they know how to do this or know how to do that, or maybe they need help setting something up. So just helping a other community member out there who may need help, or even I would say even do TikToks. Make TikToks
Yeah.
to where
Hmm.
you can ask those questions if you actually want people to respond to you. Ask questions, be like, hey, do you need to know how to set this up? I can help you. Mentor your other streamers and help them grow with you, because that, like you said, will definitely bring the community along the way.
Hmm. It's very important.
So again, we have Dark Carnage here. I wanted to thank him again for being here, being part of the show. I will definitely be doing more podcasts in the future with you, Dark Carnage, talking about
Yes, yes, I'm super excited.
various different topics and talking about other things. So that concludes our podcast episode 2 for the day. So don't
Yay.
forget to go follow him. Go follow him on Twitch. When's the next day you go live?
My next day I'm going live is probably going to be this Saturday solely because I have to work around a work schedule. But I'm going to be playing Dead by Daylight, and it's probably going to be at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Okay, so if everyone loves Dead by Daylight, go watch Dark Carnage Saturday, 10 Central, 10 a.m. Central. He will be live on Twitch. I want to thank everyone for being here. I appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Take care, Dark.
You too as well. Thank you so much for letting me be on.
Problem.
Bye bye.